It says, to your knowledge, has there been any flooding, drainage, grading problems, has water ever stood on the property or under any improvement constructed thereon? And she wrote in the notes of that, I'm gonna read it verbatim and show it to you guys. After heavy rain, water stands in the backyard. Okay, got it. After heavy rain, water stands in the backyard. Luckily it stopped raining, so it's kind of just slowly rolling in, but it is coming in this way. I don't have enough towels again to clean this up, but it's all over there. I'm getting scared to even walk on it because I'm afraid there's gonna be some sort of electricity. My cat's food is right there sitting in a puddle of water, and this is where I think that it's getting into that room. I'm not entirely sure. There's the backyard right now. All that is gonna end up in here because this is where the water drains into from the backyard. It's not even storming outside, so you know, like, doesn't even need to storm for this to happen. So in here, you can see where the water is right now. I can't do anything to stop it. There was a great moment for you to address something there that you clearly left out on purpose. And then there's something else that ties into that. And it says, to your knowledge, is there or has there ever been any past water intrusion? She checked no. To your knowledge, is there or has there ever been any presence of mold? She checked no.
You can see they covered up what appears to be black mold over here because these were new. These were newly put in and remodeled after they did the floor. So and this was covered up by them, so they knew that was there. A rusted nail right there. And it smells horrible. That doesn't look good. Another rusted nail. God only knows what's under the rest of it, right?
So I had a cat who was 17 years old. She was older, which means she would have been more immune compromised than a younger cat. We moved in, her health declined so fast that within a couple weeks of us being here, she had died. We ended up burying her in the backyard, and I will regret that for the rest of my life. Then in May of 2019, one of our cats started having some health issues. By early May, she ended up dying in like a really horrific way. It was very traumatizing. At this point, we hadn't found all the black mold that the sellers had covered up, but we found the black mold that was in the bathroom. So we knew there were black mold in the house. We ended up getting a Petri dish thing. It's like a mold test that you can do to see if there's black mold spores in the air. Black mold grew very quickly in that dish. We knew that it was in the air. And so I started doing a little bit of research into black mold exposure and what that does to humans and what that does to cats. In 2007, it was demonstrated that black mold exposure can be fatal to felines when 2 cats died following a routine procedure, and black mold was discovered there. Attention was drawn to this case when it was discovered that the home where these cats lived had undergone recent water damage that wasn't properly remedied. Pets, particularly cats, are quite sensitive to the effects of airborne mold contamination. It's important to take note of such symptoms. If your cat is left unchecked in the constant presence of black mold can damage the capillaries in the cat's lungs. This will inevitably lead to bleeding in the lungs. When Callie died, the vet had said that they had put a breathing tube in her because they were trying to save her. But after she had passed away and they pulled it out, she had blood in her lungs. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is not going to be a paranormal video. This video is going to be very serious. It is going to be ranty. I can almost guarantee you I'm going to get mad. I have a lot of anxiety doing this video too because this is something that is very serious that has been affecting mine and my fiance's life, and I'm gonna talk about it. The reason why I'm doing this on my paranormal channel and not on my second channel, which if you guys are interested, it'll be linked down there, is because I know that this channel reaches more people and I really want people to see this video. In fact, if you guys will take a second to give it a like right now or go leave your favorite emoji down below, if you take a second to just do that right now for me, that will help this video get seen. I want people to see this video for numerous reasons. One, there are certain laws that need to be changed. The system is incredibly messed up and we'll get into that towards the end of this video. And two, I do not want anyone to be in a position that Mark and I were in, because unlike the people that sold us this house, we actually care about the livelihood of other people and them not being traumatized or having a decline in their mental health or any of the things that I share in this video. We don't want anyone else to go through what we did. I wish I had saw a video like this before we bought this house. I wish I knew about these things. I really want this video to get seen, so if you could share it, if you have a Facebook, if you have a Twitter, social media, whatever, please share this video. I actually feel like my voice is shaking, so if I seem a little bit manic or whatever in this video, I apologize. My mom actually has been telling me for a while now that I need to contact our local news station about this because this needs to be broadcasted. People need to know about these things and it needs to be talked about because laws need to change. I've talked about it a few times on my channel, but Mark and I bought a house that is basically a lemon. The conditions of it are horrible. I'm gonna be talking about all of that. I'm gonna be showing you guys photos, videos. I'm gonna be telling you guys the entire story, how we even got into this situation to begin with, how we got into this house. I know there's been some of you guys that have been wondering the entire story. I've had people ask me for updates on it since I stopped talking about it on the internet, and actually currently at this time I'm taking a break from my Twitter, and if you go to my Twitter, the last post you're gonna see are about the last time that it flooded. We're so exhausted by this and I want to share this entire story, but my mom wanted me to get a hold of a news station and I thought, well, I have a platform. I have this YouTube channel. I have you guys. I know that if I asked you guys to share this on your social media, your Facebook, whatever, if I asked you to share it or to like it and help it to get seen and get interaction, that you will help me there. Or if you know any of the right people to send this video to, I would greatly appreciate it. I have some disclaimers before I start telling the story. The first one being, this video is going to be so long. This is not me trying to put up a video for entertainment or trying to get content out of it. This is something that's very serious. So I'm gonna talk about all of my feelings in it, everything that we've gone through. It's all gonna be in this video. It's gonna be so long. I actually just spent an hour writing down notes. It took me an hour just to put down the notes. So if you're listening to the video and you have certain questions, most likely all the questions that you have or suggestions that you have to fixing the problem, I'm going to address all of those things. So just hold your questions and stuff until the very end of the video. That way you're able to hear everything that I have to say, because I'm pretty sure that I might answer a lot of questions that you have. I was going to film this video on May 16th, which was 3 days ago as I'm sitting here filming this video, which is the last time that it flooded. We'll get into that towards the end of this video. But I was gonna film it on that day while I was absolutely fuming. I know that I'm upset and I know that there's been a lot of things that have gone wrong since we moved in here that are very serious and very upsetting, that I would probably say certain things I would regret, because even though someone did this to us, I still somehow don't wish harm on them. Let's go ahead and just get into it. I have a bunch of notes written down on my phone. I have videos, photos, and I also have some forms that I'm going to be reading off to you guys and showing you. So once again, this is gonna be an entire story time since August of 2018 up until now of every single step of everything since we moved into this house. If you have not purchased a house yet and you are looking at homes or you're going to purchase one in the future, listen to this video. This is very important that you listen to this, because I told Mark before I sat down to film this, I said, if this helps one person not get into this situation and not be hurt and affected the way that we were, that's all I could ask for, okay? So Mark and I lived in an apartment for 4 years, and we wanted to purchase a house. We wanted like the stability. We knew we didn't want to live here forever. Like, it wasn't going to be our permanent home. We didn't want a fixer-upper, like repairing a few things here and there is fine, but we didn't want something with a problem. We just wanted a nice house that we could afford, that was closer to our friends and our family. And we talked about potentially having a kid here. We wanted to make sure we had an office and we had a room for a child if we chose to have one. We even talked about getting a dog, things like that. And you know, when you're looking at houses and you're excited to move out, a lot of us get on Pinterest, which is what I did. I would get on Pinterest and I would pin like ideas for my office. Like, I had tons of ideas for my office, like how this one's green, where I wanted this room to be filled with plants. I wanted it to feel really positive when I was in here working, because as you guys know, I work from home, so it was really important for me to have a house that felt good when we were in it. Before I tell you guys the story, I want to read from the forms that we got when purchasing this house, because I want you guys to remember this, and I am telling you everything that happens. I want you to know that before we signed anything on this house, before we pursued it, these are the forms that we got. This is what we were informed of before we purchased this house. If you've never bought a house before, you will get a property disclosure form. This is a very, very detailed form where, from everything you can think of that could have been wrong with the property is on this form, and it asks you questions about it. And there are serious questions on there about flooding. And if you check those things, you have to write down below what it is that occurred from that list, okay? This is very important for you guys to remember. So we got our property disclosure form from them before we bought the house, and this is what was on it. It says, to your knowledge, has there been any flooding, drainage, grading problems, has water ever stood on the property or under any improvement constructed thereon? And she wrote in the notes of that, I'm gonna read it verbatim and show it to you guys. After heavy rain, water stands in the backyard. Okay. Got it. After heavy rain, water stands in the backyard. There was a great moment for you to address something there that you clearly left out on purpose. And then there's something else that ties into that. And it says, to your knowledge, is there or has there ever been any past water intrusion? She checked no. To your knowledge, is there or has there ever been any presence of mold? She checked no. To your knowledge, are there any facts, circumstances, or events on or around the property which, if known to a potential buyer, could adversely affect in a material manner the value or desirability of the property? She checked no. To your knowledge, has there ever been a problem with the roof on any of the improvements on the property, such as defective shingles, damaged shingles, leaking, or otherwise? She checked no. Now that you guys have seen those forms and you have heard that, let me continue with this horror story and something that has ruined mine and my fiance's life for the past year and a half. So we had a short window of time to look for houses, and I found a really cute one, which was this one, on Zillow or something like that. So we came and we looked at the house, and I'm only mentioning this because I think there was some shadiness going on with the realtor and the inspector, and I think once I continue, you guys will think so as well. It was really cute. They had a lot of furniture everywhere. So in this room that I'm currently in, and also in the master bedroom, a lot of the carpets were covered up. If I can find any photos of what it looked like, I'll show you guys. But in this room that I'm currently in, like, I could see when we came in that the carpet looked a little bit dirty. All of the floors inside of the house had been redone except for this room, Mark's office, and the master bedrooms. Those still had carpet in it. It looked a little bit old, but they had two really big dogs in there, so we just assumed that maybe the carpets looked old because they have dogs that go in and out. But there wasn't any like massive problem with the carpet. They just looked a little bit stingy. We couldn't see any muddy water on them or anything like that, which I will get into very shortly. We couldn't really see that very well. We looked at the carpets and I was like, oh, they look a little stingy, but the rest of the floors are completely redone. They had just recently repainted. Actually, when we came in, our biggest problem when we walked in was that it smelled like smoke, and our realtor said that if the smoke was an issue, that there was some paint we could paint over, that it would be really easy to get the smell out. So we were like, okay, well, I really want to repaint the cabinets anyway. This is actually really funny because when I looked at the cabinets, I didn't notice at the very, very bottom of them that there was water damage on the bottom, because when I went to go look in a house, I wasn't like bending down and getting down on the ground and like looking like really intently at the kitchen cabinets. Like, you just don't think to do that. And I wish Mark still had this text from that woman saying how amazing this house was. She said that this was a really good deal. It was something that was really hard to find right now, and it was something that we should really jump on as soon as possible. And I also remember when we showed up, and this may not have anything to do with it, you guys will just have to let me know what you think, but when we showed up to look at the house, I remember her asking me where I went to school. Now listen, I know I look really young, and at the time I was a little bit irked by it because I was like, that's not really like, yeah, I asked shit like that when I was like a fucking teenager, but like at my age now, I don't go and ask an adult where they went to school. That's just not a question that I ask, you know what I mean? That's not really a break the ice question. So I was a little bit offended because I felt as though when she asked that, she was thinking like, okay, she looks really young. Also, not to mention, she did not ask where Mark went to school. So I felt a little bit offended by that. She also talked about how we are first-time home buyers and that we had never bought a house before. I remember her asking us questions about that. And when she walked in, she looked at the house a little bit, but I remember most of the time we were in there, her looking at her watch like she was in a rush to be somewhere and grabbing her phone a lot, texting and things like that. And I watch a lot of house hunters, and I don't know if that's typical for realtors that aren't on TV. You guys will have to let me know, but I just, from watching house hunters, I just always assumed that when you went and looked at a house that the realtor would walk around with you and they would point things out. Like, they would point out like, okay, there's some water damage there, or okay, that looks like a problem. Like, I thought that's what realtors did, unless they were really, really scammy. I mean, I know that they want to make the sale, but I thought in order to protect themselves with getting in trouble, that they would be a little bit more like, okay, there's this problem, that problem, because they can just take you to another house, right? And we also continued to have more problems with her, which I will get into later. I remember when we got in the car to leave, I told Mark, I was like, I did not like her. I pick up on vibes so easily, and just the second she asked me how old I was irritated. I was irritated that she was not only late to showing us the house, which would have been fine, but she didn't even really look at it with us. And just the questions that she asked, they seemed, even at the time before I knew anything, they seemed guided, like she was trying to figure us out. Like, how stupid are these first-time home buyers gonna be? How young and dumb are they? That's what it felt like, and if you guys continue, you'll understand why I thought that. So after looking at everything, we kind of like weighed the pros and cons. Like, yeah, the carpets are gonna need to be changed out eventually. And I remember texting the person that lived in the house and talking to her about that. And she asked, what were your thoughts when you looked at her house? What did you think? And I told her, I was like, would you guys be able to redo the carpets before we move in? Because I didn't want to have to redo them. It wasn't something that we wanted to have to deal with. So I asked her about that, and she told me that they were not going to be able to redo any of the carpets. So it's very important you guys remember that there were numerous occasions up until this point for us to be made aware of this situation. We get a text from our realtor after this telling us that we needed to stop communicating with one of the people that lived in the house because it could cause issues. And I was like thinking, we aren't even the ones that asked to talk to her. She asked to talk to us. It was all that girl wanting to talk to me. So we stopped communicating in text with the girl that lived in here. So Mark and I decide, you know what, let's pursue it. You know, a lot of the house was redone. It has really cute charm. It's in a cul-de-sac. The neighborhood's really adorable. There's certain things that need a little bit tweaking, but we added up how much it would be to redo the carpets and stuff like that if needed. And it didn't really seem like it would be that bad. You know what I mean? So we're like, okay, It's fine. We end up hiring an inspector, but not just any inspector. We hired an inspector that our realtor told us to contact. She said that this guy was a great inspector and that they were friends and that we should contact him. This is where me and Mark were a little bit stupid, and I have major regrets with this. I'll regret this for the rest of my life, so trust me, I don't need anybody to get down in the comments and tell me how dumb we were. But we contact the inspector that she suggested. When we showed up to look at the house, the inspector was outside talking to the woman that lived here and her son, who also lived here and was in a relationship or married or some shit with the girl that was communicating with me. They were the only 3 people that lived in there. We pulled up, we sat in the car, and we didn't get out and go to the inspector while he was talking to the people that lived there because our realtor told us not to talk to them. So we sat in the car and we waited, and they jabbed on for about 5 minutes before they got in the truck and left. So as soon as they left, we get out, we meet the inspector. He was very, very talkative. He talked our ears off. We were in this house for about an hour because this dude would not shut up. He said that he had inspected most of it, but he still needed to go inside of the attic and he still needed to look on the roof. And he told us that he wanted to take us in the backyard and tell us something about it. So we go out in the backyard and he said, I need to let you guys know something that I really, really hate about this house. And actually, not only did he say what I hate about the house, he kept calling it your house. Like, he kept saying, I just really hate this about your guys' house. This is something that I hate about your house, as if we had already bought it. He was like, this house doesn't have rain gutters. And he's like, and if you look around in the neighborhood, most of the houses here don't have rain gutters. And he said, what that will do over time is it will cause the foundation of your house to sink a little bit. So we would need to get rain gutters as soon as we could. I remember looking this man in the eyes right out there and asking him, does it look like the foundation has sunk at all? I was asking so many questions. Mark was asking so many questions because we never bought a house before. We were scared. We wanted to make sure we did everything right. And he told me, no, this is nothing that has happened currently, but in time it will eventually happen. So just make sure you guys get some rain gutters when you can. It's not really a big deal at this point. It's not something that you have to worry about, and completely reassured us of the issue. Then we go out into the garage. He goes up in the attic for about, I don't know, 5 to 10 minutes, something like that. And also keep in mind, this was a big dude, okay? So he goes up in the attic, he inspects the attic, comes down, says that he doesn't see any problems up there, and then he's like, I need to go on the roof, and then we're done. So we go outside while this man gets on top of the roof to look at it and see what's going on, get his photos and stuff like that. Because if you guys aren't aware, like, the inspector will inspect everything, get photos of any issues that he sees, and he will attach it all in a bunch of files and shit, and he'll send it over to you, give you a copy and all that, and let you know of any of the issues. So it's all documented before you even buy the house. He's up there for a bit, comes back down and tells us that the roof looks fine, doesn't look like there's any damages. That lined up with what was on the forms about how there were no damages on the roof. And we just paid this man hundreds of dollars to be our inspector, right? So we're not gonna get on our hands and knees going and looking at all the creaks and crevices of the house, and we're not gonna go and research how to tell if the foundation of your house is sinking, and like, we're not climbing up on the roof with him. You know what I mean? Like, we paid him to do this. He works for us. We paid him to help us make sure that we are buying a good house. He tells us there's no problems. The only problem, this man told us, was that we need rain gutters. Now, this will tie in a later part of this video. When we get the forms back from him with all the photos and everything that he took, he did not attach any photos of any of the problems that we know are there now, that if you're an inspector you would have seen, which I will get into. He attached an image. I'll see if I can find this and attach this here. I'm pretty sure we have this somewhere. He attached an image, an up-close image of some stuff that was in the attic, like a Victoria's Secret bag and shit like that, as if there was no other place to take a photo in the attic. If that attic was so cluttered that the only place that you could get a photo of it was right there with those little bags, then how was this very large man able to fit up there? You could have at least given us a photo that was that big. He didn't even take a photo of the attic. We will find out why very, very shortly. I can assure you of that. So after all of that, we felt pretty positive about it. I remember we left and we were like, okay, I am very thankful that there were no serious issues, but we talked about how we were just excited that there wasn't really anything bad wrong. I remember looking up online to see how much rain gutters would be, and I don't know, we just decided, okay, let's like pursue this. So we started pursuing, getting into this house. I don't remember how close we were to closing on this house. I'm gonna go see if I can find this video where I talked about this, but if you guys were a part of my second channel when it was just a vlogging channel, then you may have seen this video. It was a video that I did where I was bawling my eyes out because we were almost done with the entire thing. We were about to have our lease up in our apartment. We were about to be able to, you know, officially sign the papers on this house and move in, and we had everything in boxes, and our realtor contacts us and said that the people that come out to appraise your house to see the value of it appraised it lower than what the sellers wanted to sell it for. And apparently the seller was really upset about this and was apparently rethinking if she even wanted to sell it or not. And the realtor said that the reason why this was such a big deal was because she needed all of that money that she put the house up for in order to get into their new, really nice big house that they were going to be getting into. So she was rethinking selling, not because of the millions of problems in it and thinking, oh, I might get in trouble for this, but she was rethinking selling because she wasn't going to get as much money as she wanted to get into a nice house. Had absolutely zero remorse or care in the world for what was about to happen to us. So after a couple days of her thinking about it, she ended up deciding to go through with it, and I honestly wish she didn't, because in that moment, like, I would have been upset and disappointed and stuff like that, but I wouldn't have known like what that was saving all of us from. Let's go ahead and get into the day of us moving in, or the day before us moving in, the day of us signing the papers. The day we were supposed to sign the papers, we had to do a final walkthrough before signing the papers. So we got to go in when all of the furniture was removed, and this was where the really big red flag was, that we had a big decision to make in literally half an hour. We had half an hour to go from looking at the house with all the furniture gone out of it and it completely empty to going to the bank and signing the papers. So we show up and our realtor is already inside. We walk into the bedrooms, and where they had furniture, like their bed, underneath where they had some of their furniture was a dark brown carpets. Like, they were stained so bad. And we thought at the time that it was from, you know, maybe they let muddy dogs come in or something like that, something to that effect. That's what we thought when we looked at it. And I remember we were really upset about it. We were like, these carpets are really bad. Like, what the hell? They did not look like that when we walked through the house, because they had all the really bad parts with furniture on it. Like, we had no idea how bad they actually were. So now we're looking at them and we're like, God, these carpets are bad. Like, because we originally thought that they weren't that great, but we could deal with them until we got the money to redo them. Now it was like, no, like at least 2 of these rooms, the carpets need removed basically immediately and redone because they're so bad. Mark and I are sitting there upset, but we're feeling like we're about to go sign our papers. We are literally about to lose our apartment. Like, we had a decision to make, but you got to keep in mind, at this time, we did not know why the carpet looked like that. We don't know what water damaged carpets look like. We didn't know. I know that our realtor knew, but we did not know. And we expressed to her that we were really upset about the carpet and we didn't know that they looked like that. In our contract or whatever with the sellers, we had to put in place that they had to have a professional cleaner come out and clean everything in the house before we moved in. So when we're expressing to the realtor that we're really upset at what the carpets look like before we're about to go sign these papers, she tells us that the cleaning lady hasn't been there yet, that the carpets are going to look so much better when we come back tomorrow, and eventually you guys can just, you know, redo them like you were going to anyways. So we were reassured by our realtor that the carpets would be completely cleaned. But we made a decision to just be like, okay, they're going to clean it. Fine, we don't have to worry about scrubbing the carpets, and we will just eventually just redo them. Biggest mistake of our life. Biggest mistake. We obviously signed the papers. We bought the house. The next day we came in, the carpets looked the exact same, as if no one came in and cleaned them at all. We contacted the realtor and we were really upset, and we're like, where was this cleaning lady? Like, there's literally rat shit in like the crevices of the carpet and the trim, like rat fucking poop. Like, did the people that live here ever even vacuum their floors? What the fuck? Rat shit all around there, which they didn't tell us that they had a rodent problem either. It didn't even look like anybody went over anything. It just looked like no one touched it. It was so irritating. So we started feeling like there was some sort of conspiracy where like, was there even a cleaning lady? Did the sellers just come back in and clean it? Did the realtor clean it? Like, who even cleaned this house? Because it's not clean. Our realtor said that maybe the cleaning lady didn't know how dirty the house was actually gonna be whenever she showed up for it. And it's like, that doesn't change the fact that she didn't do anything. Like, if she cleaned something, it would look clean somewhere. There was literally shit on the side of the toilet, like somebody fucking got poop on part of the toilet, and the cleaning lady didn't even clean that. We're trying to move into this house, and it ends up being that we couldn't even move in immediately because we had to clean it. My mom came over with a shampooer, and I feel really, really bad for this because she shampooed one of the rooms for hours, and they were just so dirty. And at that moment, we just thought like, oh my God, these people were scumbags. Like, how dirty can you be? Like, did you ever shampoo your carpets? Did you ever vacuum them? Did you clean your dogs at all? Like, why was your floors so dirty? We made the decision that this room that I'm currently in, that we were just gonna rip the carpet out and get rid of it and use this room as a storage room until we could redo the carpets. And then the master bedroom carpet, my mom had shampooed for a while. It didn't look as bad anymore, so we thought, let's just put some furniture over parts of it like they did. And because that room's very large back there, it would be very expensive to redo. And then, you know, in a few months or whatever, we'll just redo the carpet in there. This is also that moment when we found some water damage in our bathrooms. Now, this is something that the inspector saw. This is one thing he saw, did not mention, and did not take a photo of. I think that there was a conspiracy with the realtor, the seller, and the inspector, or at least with the realtor and the inspector, that they knew something, and the inspector was friends with the realtor and wanted to help her make a sale. We truly believe that. We go into the bathrooms and we see that there's like a damaged wall, but it looked like they had previously repaired it. That's very, very important because you need to remember that they said there was no black mold, right? There's no black mold on the property. They said that there had been no roof leaks, nothing like that. But now we're seeing that they had repaired part of the wall, okay? So Mark decides to rip all that out and he finds black mold. On the other side of that bathroom was where my office is, with the closet that's right over here. So he comes in here and he comes to look at this wall and sees, what's it called? The paint was like all bubbled up in the wall, had a huge hole and a huge crack in it because it had so much water damage on it that had literally like destroyed the wall. So he rips that out, black mold everywhere. That marks the first thing as a lie, that they had never found any black mold before. They repaired over the top of it in just this bathroom. So Mark goes on the roof to see if he can see if there had been a leak up there. And he finds that on all of the vent flashings, that the little rubber thing that goes on all of them was just tore off, and there were leaks into our roof from that. The inspector got up there. Not only did he not tell us about it, but he didn't even take a photo of it. He didn't even let us know that there was any damage up there at all. So all of those things needed to be replaced. That's something that you would come across if you didn't hire an inspector, if you didn't hire someone and pay him hundreds of dollars to make sure that your roof wasn't leaking. So the first day we move in, we find black mold, a roof leak, water damage. This was before we even found the bigger problem. Also, not to mention, you gotta keep this in mind, like, me and Mark aren't professional inspectors, okay? We do not inspect homes. That's not what we do for a living. So the fact that he went on the roof, not even knowing what that rubber thing even was, not even owning a roof to himself before, got up there and immediately saw where the problem was. We know the inspector saw it. This also ties into the story, but I'm telling you guys everything in order. This is the first really well, I guess not the first bad thing, but the really bad thing that happened when we moved in. So I had a cat who was 17 years old. She was older, which means she would have been more immune compromised than a younger cat, okay? I want you to keep that in mind. We moved in, her health declined so fast that within a couple weeks of us being here, she had died. We ended up burying her in the backyard, and I will regret that for the rest of my life. It felt like what is going on? Like, it happened so fast. Just remember that, because that is going to tie in, like my cat dying and the black mold. Just wait. Just a couple months after moving in, maybe it even been a month, I don't know. It's flooded so much at this point that I have no concept of the timeline anymore. At the beginning, it was easier to remember. Okay, it flooded here, here, and here, and I was like keeping tabs on everything better. But at this point, I don't remember when it was. It could have been a month, it could have been 2, but it was a very short period of time after we moved in. I woke up one morning, it had rained the night before or that morning or something, I don't know, I slept through it. And I walked into the kitchen and I found a little bit of water on the floor. And I did not think at this time that it came from outside. I thought it was a leak from the washing machine. It was really close to it, and the washing machine was really old. It was something that we were going to end up replacing. So I just thought, oh my God, literally like the washing machine is already going out. We're gonna have to buy a new washing machine. Like, what the hell? This happened on other occasions where it was just a little bit of water in the house, and obviously we had no idea about the flooding at the time, so we weren't always in the kitchen or in that area when it was raining to like make sure no water was coming in, so we would just go in there and find it, and it wasn't clicking at first. This was coming from outside. We didn't realize it immediately until this one day. I remember it clear as day. I was home alone because Mark was at work, and I was laying in my bed in the master bedroom, and it had been raining, and I'm like playing on my phone. There's like a thunderstorm going on, a lot of heavy rains happening. I'm just chilling. I have no idea what I'm about to walk into. I get up to go into the kitchen for something. I don't know if I was getting a drink or what it is that I was doing, but I go and I walk into the kitchen and I stop dead in my tracks before I even step foot on that tile floor, because the entire floor is glistening with water. It had stopped raining at this point, so it wasn't coming in at the time that I walked in. It was just standing still like it had been there. And I realized in that moment that it came from outside. It was everywhere. And I remember being in tears because my mom made me, like handmade me this rug that I was using as a rug for my kitchen. And I remember bawling my eyes out. I have a video of it. If I can find it, I'll insert it here. I just came into my kitchen to find the whole thing soaked with water all through the whole kitchen, and I don't even have enough towels to fucking clean it. I hate those people we bought this house from there because it completely ruined it. And when my mom hand makes me something, it's very special to me. It's stuff that like you'll keep forever because it's a one-of-a-kind item that someone made for you. And it was just really upsetting that it was like destroyed. And I was really confused at the time, and I just bawled because my rug was ruined. I didn't realize how many other things in my life were gonna be ruined, but my rug was ruined. Then we end up looking at the French doors in our dining room, and I get down and I start looking really close, and I realize that at the very bottom of them, it looks like that the wood of the bottom of the doors was like rotting, and there was a little hole where I could see directly outside, and I was like, that's where it's coming from. The leak is coming from the French doors. So we just need to get new French doors and then it'll stop leaking, you know what I mean? So at that point, we obviously realized that the house had a flooding issue that at the time was big enough. We didn't realize it was going to get worse. But at this point, we had been in the house, like, it was the same year we bought it when all this was happening. Like, it was still 2018, and we bought it in August of 2018, and we're already finding that the backyard does not just have rain standing in it during heavy rain. The whole house, like, floods even with medium rain. Like, it's not just heavy rain and like water stains in the backyard. It drains into the house. But we thought that it was just through the French doors. So we're like, okay, well, how much are French doors? French doors are very expensive. So we're like, okay, we're just gonna start saving towards that and we'll just get new doors. Now we need new carpets, we need new doors, we need a bathroom repaired. Like, what else? You know what I mean? It was just becoming like, there's so many things, like what else could possibly go wrong? Somewhere around in that timeline, I think I did a video talking about how I thought there was like a conspiracy with the realtor and the inspector and the seller to like hide these things from us. We always felt like there was something fishy going on once we moved in and found all these problems. So we continued to have flooding come into our kitchen, but we thought it was just the kitchen. So we would just clean it up and we're like, we're gonna get new doors, we're gonna fix that. One of our cats started having some health issues, and I can't go into this very detailed. I did mention this at the very beginning of the video, but moving into this house, we had 4 cats. One died within a couple weeks of living here, and then now we have 3 cats at this time of the story. She started having a lot of health issues. She lost a lot of weight. She would sleep all the time. She wasn't acting like herself. I can't talk about it in this video. The whole thing with her was really traumatizing. So I can't go into too many details about it because it's still, I can't even talk about her with Mark. It's hard. But anyways, she started having a lot of health problems. So we were taking her to the vet trying to see what was going on. I will save you guys all the details with that, but she had to have surgery and she was doing better for a little while. And then she started going downhill again. And by early May, she ended up dying in like a really horrific way. It was very traumatizing. Like we saw her have a heart attack and like all this stuff. It was really bad and it was very traumatizing. She ended up having a heart attack and she died. That was really difficult. Luckily, we did not bury her in the backyard. We decided to have her cremated. It was actually Mark's decision. Bailey was my decision on what I wanted to do because she was mine since I was 11, and I chose to bury her because the idea of giving them her body at that time was really hard for me, which I will regret for the rest of my life. But Mark, luckily, because Callie was his when we got together, like he had her before I even knew who she was. He wanted to get her cremated. So we made that decision, and thank God that we did, because we at least will have her ashes wherever we go. The reason why I'm telling you guys about our cats dying after we moved in here is because, you know, we had 4 healthy cats, okay, for years. As soon as we move in here, we lose one within 2 weeks. And then 9 months later, haven't even been in here a year yet, and another one of our cats dies. At this point, we hadn't found all the black mold that these sellers had covered up, but we found the black mold that was in the bathroom. So we knew there were black mold in the house. We ended up getting a Petri dish thing. It's like a mold test that you can do to see if there's black mold spores in the air. And we ended up setting that out and doing that test and discovering that black mold grew very quickly in that dish. And so we knew, okay, we have black mold, and a whole bunch of other mold grew in there too. We knew that it was in the air, and so I started doing a little bit of research into black mold exposure and what that does to humans and what that does to cats. And I'm gonna read you guys something, and I think that this is really important if you're someone who has pets. If you may not know this, in 2007, it was demonstrated that black mold exposure can be fatal to felines when 2 cats died following a routine procedure, and black mold was discovered there. Attention was drawn to this case when it was discovered that the home where these cats lived had undergone recent water damage that wasn't properly remedied. Pets, particularly cats, are quite sensitive to the effects of airborne mold contamination. The good news is that the symptoms of such mold-induced sicknesses are easy to detect, particularly for someone who knows and loves their cats and is sharp enough to notice changes in their cat's behavior. Keen observers will notice that their cat is more lethargic than normal. Sometimes cats will soundlessly throw up. It's important to take note of such symptoms. If your cat is left unchecked in the constant presence of black mold, the mold can damage the capillaries in the cat's lungs. This will inevitably lead to bleeding in the lungs, resulting in a fatal case of pulmonary hemorrhages. It's just as scary as it sounds, so the importance of finding and remedying the source of mold in the home cannot be understated. When Callie died, the vet had said that they had put a breathing tube in her because they were trying to save her. But after she had passed away and they pulled it out, she had blood in her lungs. The article that I just read was talking about how cats that had a medical procedure done recently died after being exposed to black mold and contamination. Callie had just had a surgery. Like, Mark and I will live with Mark and I will live with the guilt for the rest of our lives, feeling that bringing our fur babies into this house potentially killed them. I don't know what was wrong with Bailey, the first cat that passed away when we moved in here, because when the vet looked at her, they said she was in such bad shape that basically we would have been bad pet owners if we didn't put her to sleep because she was so badly sick. They didn't even want to run any tests on her because she was so sick. So we don't even really know what happened to her, if she would have had blood in her lungs. All I know is that she was wheezing really bad when she died. That just really bothers me. I can't confirm that our cats died because of the black mold exposure in the house and the flooding that wasn't being remedied and stuff like that. I can't confirm that, but I do strongly, strongly believe that because everything was fine before this. I mean, yeah, my cat was old. Like, as soon as we got in here, she could barely even walk to go eat. So now we are down to 2 cats, and let me tell you guys some of the symptoms that they have of black mold exposure, and you can read this up for yourself on black mold exposure in cats and their behavior. Most of these things that happen is when it's in the warmer months, so these things just recently started happening with them again. They were doing it last year around the same time, but through the winter, they weren't really acting this way. Like in the fall and winter, actually all of Anna's hair grew back, because one of the things that she did last year that she just started doing again is she will clean and bite and chew at herself so much that she removes all the hair from her legs. She doesn't have fleas. We take her to the vet. She has no issues whatsoever. She was actually just at the vet about a month ago. We started noticing that she breathes really weird and really loud. If I can find like a video of it and insert it in here, I will put that in there for you guys. Our other cat, Luna, every single time it gets warm in here, she sneezes all the time. She'll sneeze like boogery snot like everywhere. She also throws up soundlessly, exactly like it says in this article. Now, Mark and I also have symptoms of black mold. Like my skin, I have been breaking out in these weird rashes since I got here, and I've actually Googled some of the rashes that I've gotten, and it said that some of them can be caused from shaving when you have mildew in the air. And I'm like, oh my God, like that makes complete fucking sense because our house floods. So I've been having these weird breakouts. They make me feel incredibly insecure. They affect my self-esteem. A big one that we have is headaches and extreme fatigue. Like it's so bad. We have never been so exhausted and tired. We feel like shit all the time. I started wheezing. I have never been a wheezer in my life. We're all having black mold symptoms in here. So that's another thing that makes this house unlivable, which I will also get into very shortly. After Callie died, literally like the week after she died, we were so upset that we needed a distraction from it. And the French doors are so expensive that we didn't have the money to put in new French doors at this time. And still currently we think that the water's coming in from that point. But at this point of last May, it had not flooded as bad as it was about to yet. So we only thought that the water was coming in through those doors and going into the kitchen. So we thought we needed to fix the doors and that the kitchen would stop flooding. So we decided, since it was cheaper, that we would go ahead and put in new carpet in my office that I'm currently in, paint the walls, try and do something that's positive, that'll give us distraction from Callie, that will be like a good positive thing to do. And I was really excited because I hadn't got to use an office yet because this room was gutted of everything. So we started remodeling it. We painted the walls. I still to this day haven't finished painting the door, which you guys will find out why in just a minute. If you guys have ever noticed how I have a half painted door, like this is why. We put in the new carpet. Mark had never installed carpet before. He was like super proud of it. I decorated everything. At this time, I was babysitting a lot for my sister, and my 3 nieces were over at my house on this particular day after we had remodeled. It was about a week or so after Callie had passed away, and it started to rain. The water rose up about a foot over the back doors, and it just kept raining and raining and raining and raining. And before we know it, the water is rushing in the house like a river. It is coming in so fast. It's coming in from a corner of the kitchen. It's coming in from in between the doors. It's coming in from out from underneath the bottom cabinets. It came out so far that it reached the living room. My nieces This upsets me so bad. Luckily, the youngest one was sleeping at the time, so she didn't see this because this would have traumatized her because that poor girl is afraid of the vacuum. But my two older nieces who were 5 and 8, they climbed on the back of the chair and started crying because they thought that they were about to have to float out of my house on the couch. They were scared to death, and I'm trying to console my nieces who are freaking out at the same time as me and Mark are manically trying to like do something with this water and to stop the flooding. We literally took our dirty laundry and shoved it up against the crack in the door, trying to like prevent the water from coming in, but there was so much of it that it just soaked up all of the clothes and all of the towels that we were using and just continued to go through it. And long story short, this flooding went through the entire house. This is when we discovered that the water is not just the kitchen, it comes in through everywhere, and it ruined the carpet that we just installed. It went into our master bedroom. It went in so far that it was coming from one end of the house and dripping out of our doors leading into our garage on the other end of the house. We're walking across our floor in the living room and you can hear squishy water underneath the floorboards.
Right there especially. Look at
It's
it.
coming out right there.
Well, these floors are done. Oh wow, look at this. No flood insurance. No, didn't need that. Not a flood zone. You guys don't have to worry about flood insurance.
The water came into my office so bad that the carpet was bubbling up in the center from it. Already filled up. What was that, 2 fucking seconds? My brother-in-law had to take off work, come and get my nieces who were scared to death. My dad came over, my friends came over to help. They brought over a shop vacuum. We're trying to soak up as much water as we can. Mark called the bank and he's talking to them on the phone and he's trying to see what we can do. He's like, we can't live in here like this. He asked them if they could give us some sort of assistance where we could stop paying for a certain period of time and put that money into fixing the leaks in the house. And they said that if we did that, that we would basically have to pay the entire lump sum after the months were up of us not paying. So we're like, okay, well, we can't do that because we need that money to put into the house that is flooding really bad, and we can't just like take that money and do that and then at the end like give you guys like a whole bunch of money that we're not gonna have because we just used it to fix our house. We felt at a complete loss because now we see, okay, this is a bigger problem we thought. It's not just the kitchen, it's everywhere. Not only did so much of our furniture get ruined, but our mental health after that, not only with what happened with Callie, losing Bailey, the fact that it flooded at all, but at this point, it was like, what did we buy? What have we done? We went over all of the forums and that's when we saw like all the things that she marked because we were like, did we miss something? And we're like, no, we didn't. There's nothing on here about flooding. What the hell? Like there's nothing on here about mold. There's nothing on here about any of this. It literally says on there that there's nothing that would prevent the potential buyers from wanting the house. So now that we know that there are leaks in other parts of the kitchen, we decide to pull the siding, not the siding, but the trim off that they had just put in before selling the house. So we ripped the new siding off, and that's when we see that not only did the sellers lie about all this bullshit, but they literally put in new siding over a water damaged wall, a rusted nail, and black mold. I will see if I can find a photo of this. It looks absolutely disgusting. I'm gonna warn you guys. I just need you guys to understand that when we looked at this house, this stuff was covered up. We didn't see this. What they did was they remodeled over water damage. That day that our friends were over, they went out to the backyard and they helped us dig a whole bunch of ditches because we realized, okay, well, we need to stop the flooding in the backyard and start preventing the water from coming up to the house. So me, Mark, and my friends, we're all outside in my backyard in the rain, digging these ditches, trying to do what we can to like stop the rain from coming in so bad, stop the water from coming in. So we're just digging trenches wherever we can think. We're not like really using logic at that point. It was just, we have to dig something to try and keep this water from coming in. And at some point, I don't think it was this day, obviously, because there was so much going on, but somewhere around this time, Mark decided to go up into the attic, and that is when he found other roof leaks in the attic and black mold all throughout it. And keep in mind, when that freaking inspector went up there, he didn't take a photo of any of the attic. He took a photo of bags. He didn't even show this. It was just confirmed to us. It was just confirmed that the inspector hid everything. He didn't tell us anything. There were so many things that he saw that he did not note. There were so many opportunities to let us know that there were so many problems in the house, but yet every single problem we had, all the black mold, all the water damage, everything everywhere, he just missed all of it. Do you know what I mean? And it always took me back to that moment when he said that we would need to get rain gutters because the foundation of our house would sink otherwise. Since then, we have done a little bit of research into sinking houses and houses that are too low. And if we were an inspector, we would have known that the house was sitting too low. He told me it wasn't. He verbatim told me that it was not a problem yet, when in fact it was. A professional lied to my face. Our entire house, like, it smelled so bad. Like, we wanted out of here so bad. It just felt so disgusting and dirty, and we felt disgusting and dirty. We didn't even want to be in here anymore. And we just decided, let's gut the master bedroom. This is disgusting. So we decided to rip all the carpet out of there. And that's where I'm going to show you guys this photo of what the cement that the carpet was over the top of. Look at all of this dirty water that had been there previously. This is not when it flooded on us. Keep that in mind, okay? This is from previous damage. This is from a time when the previous owners lived there. And also, we didn't know this and know that why this wrinkle was in the carpet, but in the master bedroom, there were these two like really big wrinkles in the carpet, like the carpet was messed up, and we just thought that like they didn't put it in right, because if you don't put in carpet right, what it does is it can cause it to have like little wrinkles, and like it won't be like laid out all nice. So we thought that the carpet was just put in bad. No. The carpet had wrinkles in it like that because water had pushed underneath it at one point and then settled, and then they got wrinkled from that. We ended up moving our bed and all of the stuff that we had in our master bedroom into Mark's office. So currently I use this room to film and to keep some of my stuff in it, but I do not do anything else in this room. I do not spend a lot of time in here because it floods really bad. So Mark and I stay in a room that's closest to the front of the house that is absolutely tiny. That's where his office was supposed to be. So now our bed is in there. We're basically living out of that small space. And that master bedroom we're just using as a storage, and we have stuff in there that's like pushed away from where the flooding has been. Like, we've literally had to stack our furniture so stuff doesn't get ruined. So after that flooding situation last May, we completely gave up on remodeling. We talked to the bank, like I said, about what our options were. We felt like we were at a loss. So we kind of thought like, okay, well, let's pursue suing the sellers. Let's try and save some money to pay a lawyer, and let's work on getting some ditches in the backyard to help prevent the flooding issue. Let's just do what we can to prevent this from happening. What my idea was suing the sellers for all of the damage costs so that they would have to pay for not only the damages that have been done to the house and fixing the backyard so that it would not flood, but also have to pay us money for what they did to our mental health while we were here, potentially causing our cats to die, all of the terrible things that happened to us. We were gonna push for that. Let's push forward to October of 2019, because with lawyer stuff, it takes a while to get everything together. It's incredibly stressful. There was no remodeling that we could do to the house until our yard was fixed, because if we did any remodeling in the house, water is just going to keep coming in and we're going to have to keep remodeling everything. It's just like a money pit, basically. Like, it's completely pointless. October 2019, we ended up going to California, and while we were there, a tornado hit our house. So when the tornado hit, we had roof damage, siding damage, and our entire fence was destroyed. Been in here not even a year and a half. 2 cats have died. We flooded a dozen or more times. We found black mold everywhere. We have black mold symptoms. Our mental health and physical health is declining. And now our house was hit by a tornado. Like, it feels like everything that could go wrong with this house has literally gone wrong with this house. Like, everything that could go wrong in our lives since we moved in here has gone wrong in our lives. It has felt like an absolute nightmare. Like, I thought it was bad living in the shitty apartment that we lived in. Nothing in my life could ever be worse than experiencing as much loss as I have since we have moved in here. Like, we have been so hurt on so many levels from getting into this house that I can't even express all of it to you. It has been traumatizing. So then we had our lawyer appointments. We spoke with 2 of them, and one of them we really, really liked. And if I ever need a lawyer in this area for anything, I'm gonna go to him because he did a lot of work for us for nothing. We didn't even pay him a dime, and he did so much work for us. We showed him everything. I've been documenting everything since we moved in. We showed him all the videos, all the pictures. We talked to him about everything that we've done to try and fix it, and that we want to sue the seller for this. She lied. We showed him the property disclosure forms, everything that we had, we showed him. And he went over it and was like, it is very obvious that she lied to you guys about this. It's very obvious that they hid the damages. He said it's very obvious that you guys have a case against them, that this is something that we could definitely pursue. Now, at this time, we had also realized that a lot of this water that we had been getting into our yard is coming from the businesses behind us. I'll talk more about that. Our house is right behind a trucking business and a storage business, and they are sitting at a higher level than we are. And also the neighbors next to us are sitting at a higher level than we are. So all the water just drains into our yard, and over a period of years, and we've only been in here not even 2 yet, it has been rotting the foundation of this house, which has then in turn caused water to happen. This is not something that can happen just in a month of us living here. Like, this is something that was happening when the previous owners lived here. They were not doing anything to prevent the backyard from flooding or to resolve the problem, which then caused everything to just rot out. That is why water's coming in. So we talked to the lawyer about the business behind us and if they have any liability against what is happening to us, and etc., etc. And basically they do, but we would have to get it in writing that they were breaking some sort of law, which how the hell are you supposed to do that? We also talked to our neighbors, and our neighbors said that the previous owners were out in the backyard doing something to prevent the flooding. And one of the ladies that lived over there said that she talked to the woman that lived in here about how her house was flooding. So the neighbors knew about the flooding issue, and now they know that they lied to us about it and didn't tell us about the problem. So if we were able to get it in writing from our neighbors that they knew about the flooding and all of that, then they would have been able to be a witness for us that the previous owners knew about the flooding, because our lawyer said that because she had written on the paper that the water stands in the backyard during heavy rain, that they might try and say that there was no flooding when they lived there, that it only happened when we moved in. But I told him, I was like, I have pictures and videos and proof of this happening since we moved in. Like, it cannot rot that fast. It can't happen. I also happen to know for a fact that the floors, like the living room and hallway and kitchen and all of that, that they had just redone all of those floors right before they put up the house for sale. They repainted, they put in new trim. So they covered up all of the damages right before putting up for sale. And that is one reason why when I asked, could you guys redo the rest of the carpets, they didn't want to redo the rest of the carpets because they knew what was going to happen when we moved in here. The realtor did not want us communicating with the previous owners because she didn't want them to say anything that would lead to the sale not going through. That's my opinion. So our lawyer ended up consulting with everybody in the law firm about our problem and talking to them about it, showing them all of the forms and stuff like that. And everyone collectively agreed that we had a case and we could sue them, but it would be, you know, tens of thousands of dollars that we would be spending in lawyer and legal fees just for the widowed previous owner to most likely file bankruptcy, which would stop everything and she would never even have to give us a dime. And then we would have 40 grand in damages that are inside of the house, which I forgot to mention that. We had someone come out and estimate the damages, and at current time, 40 grand worth of damages inside of this house. So it's a third of the cost of the house in damages, not including what needs to be done in the backyard. And this is before finding some of the things that we found, which I'll get into later on. The lawyer advised us to not pursue it because we would probably be out even more money. So after everything that we've gone through, the bank wouldn't help us. We couldn't sue the seller because she would just file bankruptcy. We couldn't sue the inspector because there's fine print with inspectors that they can't be sued if they withhold information for you about damages, except for the amount that you paid him for. So we would only get what we gave him to inspect the house back, even if we did sue him. We can't sue the realtor unless we get it in writing proof that she knew about the flooding and withhold the information from us. So we were speaking with the city of Siloam during the time with all the lawyer stuff going on. We're doing this all at once, right? So the city of Siloam Springs, which is where we live, we were talking to them about the problem and telling them everything that was going on. They came out and looked at the yard, and they agreed to hire a contractor to come out to our yard and to install drains and pipes in our yard to pull the water from our yard out into the cul-de-sac, because we live in a cul-de-sac. We talked to them about the business behind us, and like, this is their problem. Can they install drains at the back of the fence so that all the water that comes from their business will just go down into those drains and not even come into our backyard? And that's when the city of Siloam told us that they're grandfathered in and they're not, like, they can't force them to do any of those things. They could do it if they want to, but they don't have to. So they can't make them install these drains. Even though it's destroying the value of this neighborhood, the city of Siloam Springs says they can't make them do anything to stop it. So we're like, okay, if you come in and install these drains and pipes or have a contractor come out and do it, they weren't gonna make us pay for anything, which at the time felt amazing. I was so thankful for that. So they come out, they install 3 drains, they install 3 pipes. We thought that this was going to work. We also told them that when they come out, can they grade the dirt away from the house? Because currently in our yard, the dirt is graded towards the house, which means all the water is going down a slippery slope into our yard. So if you take some dirt away and grade it away from the yard on top of those drains, we shouldn't have any problem. They just put the drains and pipes in, and they did absolutely no grading. They left our backyard piled full of rocks to the point where we can't even mow it. And the yard, the dirt back there, is sitting higher than our porch, higher than our house, which means the water will still come towards our house. But we thought maybe these drains will work. Actually, we didn't think that they wouldn't. It felt like they're gonna work. I remember I started looking at French doors as soon as they were gonna install them, because I was like that confident. I'm like, this is going to work. And what we wanted to do was we wanted to get the backyard fixed to prevent the flooding, start fixing what damages were already done in the house, and then put the house up for sale with the disclaimer that it had previously flooded. Here are all the things that we did to fix it. Here is the paperwork showing that we had black mold removal come in. That's what we wanted to do. We wanted to know that whoever bought it knew that this had happened before, and we wanted to fix some of the problems to make it more likely that someone would want to come and buy it. Like, we just wanted, at that point, after everything happened, we wanted to get out of the house. We wanted to do everything we could to just get out of it and let bygones be bygones, but we wanted to do it the right way. Well, after they installed the drains, lo and behold, they did not work. We still got flooding into our house. Our backyard actually floods worse than it did before. I don't even know how that's possible. I don't know how they did that back there, but I'll show you pictures and videos and stuff like that. We live in a cul-de-sac, and all of those drains and pipes pull like gallons of water out into the cul-de-sac, and now every time it rains, the entire cul-de-sac is full of muddy water from our backyard. It looks absolutely horrendous. the drains and pipes get so overflown, or I don't know what word I'm trying to use, but there's so much water going into them that it can't even hold all of it. So then the water starts to pool out of the top of the drain, and then where does it go? Right back into the house and start piling up against it. And then where does that go? It drains right into our house because it doesn't have anywhere else to go. We told the city of Siloam this did not work. Not only does it look like shit, not only did you not grade the backyard properly, but now we have rocks everywhere, and the water is so heavy that when it goes out into those drains, that it completely eroded our yard, and now all of the pipes are exposed again. And every time it rains, it pushes all the rocks out into our cul-de-sac, which causes the neighbors an issue, because the way, like, we're in this cul-de-sac, it's like a circle. Their yard looks like our yard, looks like we share like a little front yard area. It looks like their yard looks like shit too. So they were out there the other day shoveling those rocks away so they could park their car. Like, that's how bad it is. So we told them, once again, the dirt has to be graded away from the house. The business behind us needs a drain put in. This is going to keep happening if these things aren't done. And what do they say? We're going to have the contractors come back out and dump a bunch of seed in your yard. Seed. So the contractor comes out, and Mark goes out to talk to him, and he's like, I don't know why they're having you come out here and put seed when the issues of the yard is not that we need seed out here. That's literally just covering up the ugly job that's done. We need bigger pipes. We need a drain back there. There's all these other things that we need, and they're just gonna come out and put seed. The contractor told us that we needed bigger pipes for the issue that we were having. We needed our yard to be graded away. We needed all of those things, but he could only do what the city of Siloam Springs was paying them to do. So even the person that came out was like, he said it was completely stupid to even be putting seed on our ground, but he had to do it anyway. So Mark contacted the city of Siloam, and they're just like, that's all we're doing, and we're trying to talk to the business behind you guys about installing drains. It's been months. We have heard nothing. So during this time, I bought quick dams that one of my subscribers recommended to me. I bought some flooding proof tape or waterproof tape to go and tape the outside where all the holes were coming in, to at least prevent some of the water from coming in. And then Mark went out in the backyard and dug this huge ditch back there and tried to like do it in a way so that it would pull the water away from the house with what the drains weren't doing, and then all the water that was coming from the business would fall into that big ditch before it would come to our house. It rained a couple times, but not really hard, and we were seeing that the water was flowing through that pretty well, so we thought, okay, maybe this was gonna work. Until on May 16th, 2020, we had the tiniest rainstorm come in. It was just the smallest red spot over Siloam Springs. And we're looking at our back doors, and we're watching all that water fill up into that ditch. And then we watch it pull over. And then we see at the fence of our neighbor's house, all of a sudden there's this mini waterfall coming from their backyard into our backyard. It's filling up so fast. This rainstorm lasted 30 minutes. Okay, keep that in mind. 30 minutes before this happened. So Mark starts panicking. He's like, I gotta go out there and I have to try and build like a dam at their fence because that water rushing in is bad. Like, this is gonna make us flood. So I have this video I'll show you guys of me before the water started coming in, thinking that the quick dams and the waterproof tape was working, which it did not. It worked with the door, but it didn't work with other parts of the house, which I will get into. So I'm watching that water rise. These quick dams I have stacked up about a foot high. It goes all the way to the middle of that. So about 6 inches of water at this point is at our back door.
Like, seriously. Oh my God. It's fucking worse. Shaking. Please work, flood barriers. Please. Please work. Shaking so bad, dude. Dude, this is what we gotta do in our lives, dude. Rain, please stop. Stop raining. Stop raining now. That is all coming from the neighbor's yard. Oh, I'm shaking so bad. I think my flood barrier is working. No, it is working. Gotta put more tape.
water starts coming into our house again. It came in under the kitchen cabinets. It came in into my office. And this is when we found a new spot that we didn't realize was there because we had not been using the master bedroom at all. We go into the master bedroom and somewhere underneath the window, it's not coming through the window, but I mean where the window is in the master bedroom, there's a leak somewhere in there where water is coming out underneath the trim. So we had a shit ton of water in our house again, regardless of everything that we've tried to do. And me and Mark cleaned it up and sat there and was just like, this is a bigger problem than us. It doesn't matter what we do to the backyard or what we do to try to stop the house flooding. We could remodel the entire outside of the house, clog all of the areas where the water's coming in. We could do all of that. But until the business behind us in the city of Siloam Springs fixes this issue, this is going to continue to happen. It doesn't matter if we go out there and dig a 6-foot deep ditch. This is going to continue to happen. There is literally nothing that we can do. We have all of these instances of black mold making us sick, potentially killing our cats, affecting the ones that are still here. It's black mold everywhere. And we just sat there, this was 4 days ago, and we're like, if no one will help us, if no one is going to fix this issue, if no one's gonna listen, if the city of Siloam Springs doesn't care, if the business behind us doesn't care, and they're not gonna do anything to fix it, if the bank isn't going to help us, if we can't sue anybody because everyone's under some sort of fucking, I don't even know, everyone has some sort of protection thing, what is the point? Like, what is the point? Do we foreclose and just walk away and potentially get sued for this? You can't make an almost $1,000 house payment of a house that you're not even living in while trying to rent out another house. Like, you can't do that. And I was reading into foreclosure and like they will come after you for the money. And it's like, where is our option? Where is our option? We've tried everything. We haven't even been in here a year and a half yet, and this is all the things that have happened since we've been here, and no one will help us. It's like a dead end after dead end after dead end. And it was all because an inspector did not tell us of the very clear damages that he saw. All he had to do was tell us that there was water intrusion, and we never would have bought it. All the seller had to do was say that this was a previous issue, which would have given us the choice of choosing to buy this house or not. Nobody did any of that. Everybody was concerned with making a sale, with getting profit. I learned in this situation how many shitty people there are that don't care about you, that will hang you in order to have success. So Mark and I made the decision that we're going to leave this house no matter what that entails, no matter what we have to do, because we are not playing this stupid game, this stupid Monopoly board game that I've learned that life is, where it doesn't really matter what's right or wrong, it matters what you can do legally. And the legal system is so incredibly messed up. I don't know when they set all this shit up. Like, there's no lemon laws in the state of Arkansas. I don't know if there is in other states, but I know specifically for the state of Arkansas, if you buy a house like this, there is nothing protecting you from that. If you buy a house that is unlivable as ours is, there is nothing you can do to make sure you get out of that. There's nothing protecting you. That needs to change. If someone can go and remodel over damages and sell the house to first-time home buyers and do this to their lives, something needs to change. If that doesn't show you that there's a big problem in our system, I don't know what will. That's not right. You shouldn't be able to go and remodel over the top of bullshit, make fraudulent papers, and then a bank buy that loan that we're paying off and no one do anything about it. Like, logically, you would think that the bank would go after the people that sold the house because they're the one that bought the loan on a fraud. Like, it's a lie. Like, everything on that paper that she wrote was a lie. The bank bought a loan on a lie. That is not our fault. That is not our problem. This would have been our problem had we not hired an inspector. You know what I mean? You hire an inspector so they will let you know of these things. Arkansas is actually the only state in the United States where a landlord can move you onto a property that is infested with black mold and you can't sue them for it. You can't do anything about it. If you get health problems because they moved you in a house knowing there was black mold in there, you can't do anything. That needs to change. Those reasons are why I want people to see this video. I don't want anybody to go through what me and Mark did. I don't want anybody to deal with this stress. I don't want anybody to struggle with that. I don't want anybody to be in a home that they thought they were going to be able to make their own and start a family in, and be sitting there in a flooded house wondering how to get out of it. How is there nothing to help people like this? That needs to change. That's not okay. The fact that we have contacted the city of Siloam Springs about this problem and they're not doing anything about it. Mark actually went and talked to our neighbor, and our neighbor said that they've been getting a lot of water in their backyard from the businesses behind us as well. The water that they're getting in their backyard is then flooding into ours. But over time, all of that water that's going into their yard is going to rot their foundation too. And when that happens, they're going to have water intrusion. The entire value of this whole neighborhood is going to go down the second we foreclose, the second that it's exposed what's going on in this house. The value of this neighborhood is shit. You'd think that the city of Siloam Springs would care about the fact that they're about to have a neighborhood that isn't worth anything because they're not doing anything to stop it. A business like the one that is behind us shouldn't be able to say, oh, your house floods? Oh, your house is full of black mold? Oh, all of that water that's doing all of that is coming from my business? Well, I'm really busy right now and I don't really have a law in place forcing me to put this back there, so we're just gonna not. That should not be the case. The business behind us has the money to put those things back there. They just won't do it. The fact that we expressed to the city of Siloam that our house was still flooding, that we were still having an issue, and they just sent someone out here to put seed in our yard. How broken is the system? This is not a people being too stupid to see the problem when they're going to buy a house. The problem is people like the woman that wrote down on those papers a bunch of lies, having her son help her remodel this shitty fucking house and putting it up for sale and giving it to someone, giving their problem to someone else. That's the problem. The problem is that they lived in here for years, letting the water just rot the outside of their house. This was their problem to fix. They should be legally liable for it, not us. This is not our issue. This is not something that we moved in and we let everything fall apart. This is someone else's problem. Yet the legal system says that it's ours because we bought it. But we bought a lemon. We bought a unlivable house. The day that it happened 3 days ago, I was about to go and get Mexican takeout food to bring to my mom and dad and have a nice dinner with them. I ended up having to cancel. That was the second family event I had to cancel because of flooding. People like this fucking asshole woman that sold us this house should not be able to do that, because there are two people whose lives were put on hold since they moved in here. We're not able to start a family. We're not able to get a dog. 2 of our cats died. We have had health problems. We can't live our lives like normal people in this house. I don't know how they did it. Had the phone number of one of the girls that lived in here. Do you guys remember that? I texted her and sent her a Facebook message. So I tried to contact her 2 times. The first time I was really nice because I was hoping she would respond so I could use that against them in court. But the second time I asked her, what the hell did you guys do to prevent the water from coming in this bad? We are flooding so bad right now. It said delivered. Never got a reply. The girl that was so eager to reply to me and contact me when she wanted to help sell the house couldn't reply to me whenever we were flooding really bad and needed help. The fact that they made profit off of this house and moved into a nice big one makes me sick. People that do things like that to others don't deserve to have a nice house. They don't deserve that. I could never sell this house in good faith to another person, let alone someone a hell of a lot younger than me, they don't even have a family yet. I couldn't sell that to someone. I couldn't do what they did. I don't know what kind of person you have to be to do what they did. I remember that I went to the seller's Facebook profile. I was trying to find anything I could find online about her knowing about the house flooding, and I thought maybe at some point she posted on Facebook about it, because like the flooding was so bad, you can't live here and not talk about it. Like there has to be something on her somewhere. So I went to her Facebook profile, and ironically she had posted a video out of her new house window with rain falling down. And in her caption, she said something like, "Thank God for the rain." I can't express to you how angry that made me. Like, I am pretty damn sure that the second we're out of this house, I'm gonna be, I'm not even a Christian, and I'm probably gonna be thanking God for the rain too. We're at current times now. I really hope I didn't leave everything out of this video. I really wanted to tell the entire story from beginning to end, everything that's happened since we've been here. I know my channels have been like crazy since we moved in. I used to be so great about filming all the time and so motivated, and I know that I haven't been here. I know everything's been scattered. I know sometimes I post complaining videos. I know sometimes I'm not in the best of moods, and this is why my life since I moved in here, our life since we moved in here, have been terrible. Before I wrap this video up, I did want to bring Mark in here. That way he could kind of like share his thoughts on stuff, because all of the things I mentioned like affected the both of us directly, and because I'm doing an entire video about the situation, I really want his perspective to be in it as well. So I'm gonna go grab him really quick, and then I will check back with you guys afterwards.
Is it in focus? Yeah. Okay. So I know Kyle explained literally, I mean, the whole story, the whole, you know, volume of novels that whole story could encompass. But I just kind of want to give my thoughts on this whole thing. Like, you know, when we first moved in here in August of 2018, we were excited. Like, it was our first home. You know, and then just going through everything that we've went through with the constant flooding and losing Callie and Bailey, and, you know, the mold growth in here and all that. And, you know, having the city that we live in install, you know, French drains in the backyard, and that not helping. Me digging a 3 foot by probably 10-inch deep ditch all the way across the yard, that not helping. Just, you know, all that stuff. And I remember last year when it was raining like crazy, I panicked and I ran outside. This was when water was just flowing in the house. I panicked and I grabbed a shovel, and I mean, in hindsight, it was kind of stupid, but I was out there just digging hole after hole randomly, trying to get the water to seep into the ground, to the point where like I couldn't breathe. I came in, I dropped everything, I just collapsed out of exhaustion. And that was like the first point that I hit where I was like, this is almost pointless, you know? But I was like, but I gotta keep trying, you know, I gotta protect my house, blah, blah, blah. And then the other day, getting out there and seeing that the water was just pouring like a waterfall off the parking lot behind us into the neighbor's yard, filling up their massive, like, you know, 70 foot long by 3 or 4 foot deep swale. Whole thing filled up and just pouring into our yard, and just completely ignoring all the work that was done on the yard. Just, I finally hit the point where I'm like, I'm done. I am 100% done trying to deal with this, done trying to fix the yard, done trying to fix anything in the house. It's a complete lost cause, because unless something is done about the water coming into our yard, nothing we do on this property will ever fix it. And I can't control the neighbors, I can't control the property behind us, and I don't have any fight left in me. And, you know, some people could say that that's me giving up, or, you know, well, you took the loan on, it's your responsibility. But it's not worth the stress on our emotions, on our health, on our bank accounts. It's not worth any of that. So I encourage everyone out there, every single person, if you are buying a home, do not use the inspector that your realtor recommends. Get two. Also, get someone to come in and test for mold in your home. Get someone to test for water drainage. It doesn't matter how much money that costs, because it'll save you a whole lot of money in the future and a lot of stress, heartache. But yeah, that's my 2 cents. See you guys.
Okay, so first of all, I have like the cutest fiance in the entire world. So yeah, I just wanted him to be able to come on here and talk about his feelings on it a little bit as well, and, you know, give you guys some advice and stuff, because as I said at the beginning of this video, the most important part of this video is I want people to think about all of this before you go to buy a house. Think about the fact that if you think that there's things that are protecting you, sometimes it's not quite like that. So I'm losing my voice because I've been talking for so long, and I actually have to film for my Patreon, because I am starting Kyla's Chronicles back up on my Patreon. There was a video I was supposed to do before this one, but it'll probably go up after this video, even though I'm literally wearing the same thing that I wore in the previous video, but whatever, who cares? Anyways, I'm starting Kyla's Chronicles back up, and I'm gonna be having all that on my Patreon, so if you guys are curious what's going on with that, just wait till my next video. But what I was going to say at the end of this video is that if you guys want to hear about what we're kind of working with the bank on right now, definitely let me know that. Like, Mark and I started putting a bunch of shit in boxes, because regardless of how we do it, we are getting out of here, because this isn't right, this isn't fair. We are still young, and we are not going to spend our lives and our money into this place. I don't think anybody should be living here. I don't know how the previous owners lived here. I'm going to always have such a huge heart for the rest of my life on anyone who is in areas of flooding, like stuff with like Hurricane Katrina. And like, I have a different understanding for people who witness their belongings being ruined and watch water flood into their home. And obviously that's on such a greater level because it's a hurricane, but I'm gonna have such a heart for that. I'm always gonna be donating to families in situations like that. And I'm going to see what I can do about seeing if there's anything I can help change or start some sort of something to bring relief to people in situations like mine and Mark's, because there should be something in place for us. And obviously, if you guys have any advice for us that isn't pertaining to us staying in this house, because we're not going to stay here any longer. I mean, obviously we're not leaving right this second, but like we're done. Like the biggest regret that I have is burying my cat in that backyard. That's the thing that hurts, but it is what it is. And you know, I just have to remind myself she's not there anymore and try and think as positive as possible. But anyways, the whole point of what I was saying is that Mark and I already started packing stuff because we're not going to let any more of our belongings be ruined. If we have to rent a storage unit to put that shit in it or donate it or sell it or something, fine, but we are not going to let our belongings be ruined anymore. We are going to start packing up, and we are working with our bank on a potential resolve to the situation. So if you guys would like to see another video with me explaining all that, if you guys would like to see videos of me packing and chatting with you guys, if you guys would like to see anything else on this, any updates, let me know down below. And as I told you guys at the beginning of this video, please like this video, please leave a comment down below, please share it on Facebook, any type of social media that you have. Ask your family and friends to watch it, anything that you possibly can. I want this to be seen. I want people to know what happened to us. This is the best voice that I have, is my channel. This is the easiest way for me to get this stuff out there. So please like, share, comment, all of those things. I always ask you guys to do that, but this one is the most important to me because this is something that has affected our lives so strongly for the past year and a half. But I am gonna go ahead and wrap this video up. If you guys would like to leave an emoji down below, why don't you leave an ocean emoji? I don't need to tell you why. You can leave that down below if you guys would like to. If you guys would like to join my Patreon, I am going to be starting my Kyla's Chronicles back up over there. I have my reasonings for why I'm doing it on Patreon. For those of you that remember what it was where I was telling my entire life story from beginning to end with all the things that I've experienced in my life, the good, the bad, the ugly, everything super detailed. I used to do those story times on my channel a long time ago. I had to stop doing them. I will go more in depth with that, but if you guys are interested in that, my Patreon will be linked down below. But I think that's it. I need to wrap this up. This video is probably over an hour long. Thank you guys so much for chatting with me today. I love you guys so much, and I will see you guys very, very soon.